Thanks for tuning in for this session. In this session, I want to talk to you about what is probate. Well, who am I? I'm Emil Belvin. I'm a real estate broker and probate specialist here in Los Angeles. And I've had a chance to speak to a lot of people over the years, especially our seniors at a few different senior centers. I put together a presentation called The Truth About Probate. And I'll read to you our legal definition in regard to what probate is. Probate is the legal process of administering the estate of a deceased person. Probate is often the result of someone dying without having a living trust. Now, just to kind of give you a little bit of insight about probate. Probate means that someone passed away, they may not have had a will, or maybe they did have a will, but they didn't have a living trust. And what usually happens when someone's going through probate is the will is being probated, so to speak, and their assets of real property and things of that sort, their personal assets, can't be dispersed or shouldn't be dispersed without getting the authority from the court to disperse those things. So what I'm getting at is probate requires court supervision. Now, once a PR or a personal representative administrator or executor is appointed over the estate, then that person can have full authority and can kind of make some decisions without necessarily going back to the court to get confirmation on a lot of things like the sale of the property or the authority to do certain things can be granted if they have full authority. But at the end of the day, again, probate is when someone has to go back to court to get permission from the judge to sell things like the house, to get permission, in paperwork, simply because there wasn't enough documentation, specifically a living trust, that appointed a successor trustee the authority to do these things without the court supervision. So, what is probate? Probate is the process of administering the estate of a deceased person that's overseen by the court. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. You got to file court paperwork. You have your hearings. You have things of that nature that you have to do. You're probably getting an attorney involved. And so the court costs and the time, it racks up in comparison to having a living trust and not having to deal with those things. It's a much smoother process. So the reason that people a lot of time when you hear about probate is so daunting and it's like frustration that you hear is because you got to file paperwork and go to court. You got hearings for everything to be appointed as the administrator over your loved one's estate. If you need court confirmation on things, you got to get confirmation hearings to sell the real property. You got to go back and have an accounting hearing before you can disperse the assets. These are things that you don't have to do if you have a living trust and a successor trustee has been appointed. So that's why you hear that probate, when people talk about probate, they're like, oh my goodness, it was such a drag. Because it's really involved. It's a legal process. And, whenever you're dealing with anything with the courts, it's never moving at, a fast speed. So keep that in mind. So hopefully this has helped give you some idea about what probate is and, what causes things to go into probate. Again, you have that will or you don't have that will, you end up in probate. If you have that living trust, it's less likely that you'll end up in probate. And I say less likely because sometimes people do contest the living trust. Sometimes the living trust can't be found. So there are still, some ways and reasons that living trust, or even if you have a living trust, you can still end up in probate court. But it's less likely. So with that being said, hopefully this has been helpful. I'm Emil Belvin. I'm a real estate broker here in Los Angeles and probate specialist. Now, again, this is not legal advice. This is just information speaking in generalities to help you understand the process of probate. Now, if you have will, trust, or probate questions, feel free to give me a call. I'll be happy to hear from you. My number is 310-670-3002. Until next time, you take care, and we'll be in touch. Be well.